Welcome back to the 10 Commandments of Leadership. This is where we do two main things, two primary objectives. Number one, we educate, equip, and empower emerging leaders with God thought leadership. And secondarily, what we do is we present current events and newsmakers in the light of best practices from the Bible. And what is the current news event? That it's Wednesday. It's hump day. But more importantly, it is the first day of a new month. It is the first day of the fourth and final quarter of this calendar year 2025. And for those of you who work with and work for the government, it is the first day of your new fiscal year. So that has weight and has bearing as we move through trying to become better, more equipped, and more engaged and more empowered leaders. You know, read a recent global English editing article that sparked today's message because it listed 10 toxic leadership habits. And what are they? Arrogance, mismanagement, ignoring feedback, procrastination, lack of empathy, over-promising, inconsistent vision, failure to listen, resistance to change, and neglect of growth. That list made me stop in my tracks. Why? Because as a recovering egoholic, I saw myself in that list. And more importantly, I realized how directly those 10 toxic habits parallel the 7 steps of Ego-holism Recovering, a process that I've lived and a process that I am still living and still seeking to manage. So today, we'll explore the mirror between toxic leadership and Ego-holism Recovering. Between toxic leadership and egoholic recovering. Here's the parallel breakdown between the 10 habits of toxic leadership from that global English editing article versus our 7 steps of egoholism recovering. For example, the article talked about arrogance, and I paired that with our egoholism recovering step number 1, and that is to change lanes effectively, glance back quickly before driving forward. You see, ego swells when we forget where we've come from. However, glancing back keeps us humble. Here's another one. The article addressed micromanagement, which parallels with our step number 2. Dig deeply below the surface to uncover hidden truths, hidden treasures. Control stems from fear. Digging beneath the surface reveals the insecurities that are driving it. Next, ignoring feedback, the article talks about as a toxic habit. And we talk about it as step number 3, becoming an active listener. Leaders who refuse input shrink their impact, but listening enlarges trust. Try this one. Procrastination, parallel to our egoholism recovering step number 4. Grow up to be a child. Grow up to be a child. Children act without overthinking. Procrastinators delay because of pride or fear. Next, lack of empathy versus step 5, which says turn your bitter lemons not only into better lemonade, but finally into the best, which is lemon meringue pie. Hardship softens when processed or hardens us when it's ignored. Next, overpromising versus step 6, which is healing through revealing. When you hide flaws, you promise too much. Confession aligns words with reality. Here's another one. Inconsistent vision versus step number 7. Now that you know, go, elevate, and grow. Clear vision requires humility and forward momentum. And finally, failure to listen, resistance to change, and neglect of growth. These three together represent what I call ego inertia. Ego inertia. The antidote is recovering from ego-holism each and every single day. So these 10 toxic habits aren't random flaws. They're symptoms of ego-holism left unchecked. Now let me be transparent. I don't speak about ego-holism from some ivory tower. I speak about it as the world's first publicly acknowledged recovering egoholic. My spades, my SPAIDES, the shadows I carry are selfishness, procrastination, arrogance, impression mismanagement, disorganization, poor eye contact, and again, selfishness. These are my daily temptations. They are my hourly egoholisms. But based upon this article, two of my SPAIDES, two of my spades really jump out. That's procrastination and that's arrogance. Procrastination for me wasn't laziness. Procrastination was arrogance in disguise, thinking that I could wait until the last minute and then still deliver brilliance. And then arrogance? Arrogance showed up in subtle ways, needing to have the last word, over-explaining, or refusing to accept feedback. The Global English Education article did not expose other people. It exposed me. But here's the good news. Through Ego-holism Recovering, these spades no longer run my life. They ride with me, yes, but they don't drive anymore. They do not drive me anymore. Let me pause to give you two quick stories. Don Shula, the legendary Miami Dolphins coach, enforced a 24-hour rule on his players and his coaches. After any game, win or lose, you had only 24 hours to either celebrate or sulk, then move on. That's Ego-holism Recovering step number 1. Glance back quickly before moving forward. Shula taught players not to let their egos inflate or deflate them. And second, James Conant, a corporate turnaround leader, was once asked his secret. He said, "I try to listen longer than most people are comfortable talking." I try to listen longer than most people are comfortable talking. That's Ego-holism step number 3, become an active listener. It transformed not only his team, but also his family relationships. Now, these stories show how leaders outside the pulpit and outside the corporate boardrooms grasp ego management, even if they never called it what I call it, which is Ego-holism Recovering. The ultimate model of balance is found in the Bible's Luke 2:52. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and in favor with man. Notice, Jesus grew intellectually. He grew physically, spiritually, and socially. No toxic habits, no egoholism, just balance. For us recovering egoholics, we must daily check if our growth is lopsided or not. We can't let intellect outpace empathy or ambition outrun humility. So here's today's challenge. Look at those 10 toxic habits. Compare them to my 7 steps of Ego-holism Recovering. And then ask yourself, what are my spades? What are my SPAIDES? My examples of selfishness, procrastination, arrogance, impression mismanagement, disorganization, eye contact poor, and again, selfishness. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Share them with a truth teller in your life. It works. Because until you name them, you will keep driving your leadership from the shadows. Until you name them, you'll keep driving your leadership from the shadows. Friends, leaders fail not because they lack skill, but because they fail to manage their egos. The toxic habits that we just read about are warning signs. The steps of ego-holism are lifelines. And if Don Shula, if James Conant, and yes, even I, as a recovering egoholic, can grow through this, then so can you. Let's commit to it together. This has been the 10 Commandments of Leadership. I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation, and I hope that what it has done more than anything else is help to give you a jump start for this new day, but also this new month, this new fourth and final quarter of the year. And if you work for and with the government, give you a jump start for this first day of this new federal fiscal year. You can grow. You can reverse some negative trends in your life. You can reverse some of the toxic habits. I'm a living witness that it can work, but it is work. It's work, sure enough. It's work, but you can do it. And if anything that I've said to you today has been informative, has been inspiring, has been encouraging, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to it. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the 10 Commandments